Muttart Conservatory is showcasing mini makes from local artists. Artwork from Miniature Enthusiasts of Edmonton now on display as part of the new Imagination exhibition. 40 artists creating the smaller-than-life artwork. It includes more than 1,000 miniature plants. The president of the club says any artist can apply their skills to miniatures.
Anything that you could do in real size, you could do in miniature. Like, for instance, if you're into doing pottery, you could make tiny little pots. Or if you crochet or knit, you could do it tiny. Painting's tiny.
The itty-bitty displays will be featured until the end of September.
Well, there you go. That was my 15 seconds of fame. You know, they film me talking for about 10 minutes and they use maybe 10 seconds of it. So today I'm going to be showing you how I made a table using these Tic Tac boxes. So Tic Tacs come in mint flavor and now they come in fruit flavors, and it's quite a popular treat. However, the stickers that are on the packaging is something to behold. It's really difficult to get off. So I tried soaking it in soapy water, and then from soapy water I tried lighter fluid, and I ended up having to use Goo Gone in order to get all of the glue residue off of them and clean them up really nice. So my next step was to take some black cardstock or heavy black paper and cut perfect little black panels to insert into the little Tic Tac boxes. So even though it's hard to see, there is writing on one side of it, so you got to make sure that the black paper goes down to cover up the writing. So once I've got the paper the correct size, then I'm ready to build my little tables. So you can see, barely see the writing on the back of it. You got to make sure that that's turned to the downside. So there you go. So I'm working at my friend's house today, and I brought a bunch of things to go inside of this, including a bunch of old family photographs that have been hanging around. And some of them have human beings in it that I could cut out the little humans and use little photographs inside these little boxes. I've also got a collection of tiny shells. So these are shell necklace from the Philippines, and some of the shells are really super minute, and that can go inside of these little boxes. They're like little museum cases, and I'll show you at the end of the video that I've actually got a coffee table just like the one that I'm making today. So you can see here there's like little tiny photo of two people in there that can be cut really small and will work really good. I've also got these tiny little I guess they were nail art that have been stuck together, so back to front, and they're tiny little butterflies which can also be used in there, and those came from my stash at home. And then this is my friend's little stash. She's got these little plastic butterflies. Some of them are not very realistic, but in particular, I like the purple ones. So I'm just going to open this up and show you what they look like. They're really neat and very highly detailed. Like, look how pretty that is. Just absolutely gorgeous. So those will look just absolutely excellent inside of this little museum case. So the rest maybe they'd work if you used a little bit of paint and put a little bit of effort into it, but the purple ones are perfect as is. And here's a couple of children's book. In my coffee table at home, I've got my favorite children's book from when I was a little girl, the Snow Queen it's called. And then in this little package, there's some little sewing buttons, which are really cute. They're just tiny enough that they would work inside of this little box. And then look at this Rubik's Cube, how tiny that is. Just hilarious. That's made out of polymer clay. That's like quite a little treasure. And that will go into my friend Lil's box. And then this is a little spinning top that Lil made out of a bead. And that's just absolutely precious. So the whole point of doing a little coffee table like this is to put souvenirs and your memories inside of it. And there's all kinds of stuff that we found here that are just small enough. Like, check out this little tiny set of keys. Isn't that just sweet? So it could be like the keys to your very first vehicle. That's what we're pretending they are. And then I've got a couple of skeleton keys that will work well. And I end up using a skeleton key in the one that I made for me. And what else do we have here? Oh, yes. So look at that little diary with a little lock on it. That's like perfect. So that could be the diary from when you were 12 years old. I just think that's really a cool idea. And little minuscule, I guess these would be 1/48 scale framed artwork of little flowers. They're just absolutely adorable. And those will go really well inside of these little boxes. And what else do we have here? Oh yeah, check that out. So cool. So it's nail art. So that was a cameo. And this little piece is the Eiffel Tower. And that's meant to normally like glue on your nails, and they came from Temu. And then a couple of these little hearts, which are just absolutely beautiful. And Lil ends up painting the insides of the hearts in red. And she also painted the inside of the cameo in white. And then here's a tray of little tiny shells that are from Lil's stash, which are a little different from the shells that were on the necklace. Some of them are kind of the same. The ones that I really like are these long, and I apologize, I don't know the names of shells, but the really long ones that are kind of stripy looking. Aren't they beautiful? So I used shells like similar to that when I made a mirror in a previous video. So now I've got some wood. And what I'm doing is I'm going to make the wooden sides for these little boxes. And then I've got a selection of wooden spindles that I can use for the legs. So I end up using these big long ones. And the reason why is because it has the longest uniform top on it. So the other ones have tapered tops, and that's not going to work because it has to be glued to the sides of the wood that I'm going to be using to hold the little Tic Tac box in place. So it has to be like perfectly flat, or at least the very same size diameter around for the first width of the box, if you understand what I mean. I'm having a hard time explaining it. See, that part has to be the same size, otherwise you won't be able to glue the sides of the wood to it. So that's the way it's going to sit on there. That sounded way more complicated than I meant it to sound. So the first table that I'm going to do is a coffee table. So I'm going to cut these down quite a bit. So I want my coffee table to be quite low. And so I'm just going to cut off and make the table legs this length. So now these are the parts that I cut off, but I'm not going to discard them because I could probably use them for another project. So I'll put them back into my little baggie. And then these are the 4 legs that I'm going to use. So, and they're just the perfect height, I think. So now what I've got to do is I've got to cut 4 pieces to go around the box. So, and it's got to be the exact length of the box. And even though it doesn't look like it, the box is slightly not regular, like at the top where the top of the Tic Tacs are, where the lid would have gone in, is slightly wider than the bottom of the box. But it's so slight you won't notice it once it's put together. But when you are cutting the wood for the sides of this, you've got to pay attention and make sure that you mark each piece off so that it's like absolutely the right size. So I'm just eyeballing it up and then taking a pencil. And then as soon as I've got the right place to cut it, then I've got out my little miter box and my miter saw, and I'm just going to cut these up. So, and I need 2 long pieces, obviously, and 2 short pieces in order to make this table. So this saw is getting a little bit duller. I've used it for quite a long time. It's almost time for me to treat myself to a new saw. And you can see here, if you line it up, that's absolutely perfect. And then the little leg will be glued in on the end. So Lil's table's going to have longer legs on it, and mine will have the shorter legs on it. So we've got 2 long pieces for our Tic Tac boxes and 2 short pieces for our Tic Tac boxes. So now I'm just going through and I'm just giving it a light sanding, and I've sped it up for you so you don't have to watch me sand everything. And then we've got some brown paint that we've added some water to so that it acts like a stain. It's just a nice medium brown color. So before we glue it all together, we're going to stain all the wood just so that it, once glue is on the wood, then the stain won't take. So it's better to do it in advance. So now my trusty tacky glue. So you can see we've got those pieces lined up on Lil's green board, and then we're going to glue them together. So once those are glued together and drying, we printed off some Canadian and American money, and then we're each taking our little boards and we're gluing down all the items that we want for inside of our little display cabinet. So I've got some Canadian money and some American money and all of those things that I showed you earlier in the video. And we're just spending our time having a nice visit. You can see in the corner there where Lil is actually using the red nail polish to paint the center of those little tiny, 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 minuscule little hearts. And then she also painted with white nail polish the little tiny cameo for me. And so we're just taking our time and we're just loading it up with a whole bunch of little tiny stuff. And it took a while, but we had a nice visit while we were doing it. And in the end, I'm sure pleased with the results. It turns out so cute. So I think I'm gluing down a little photograph here. So just a little mishmash of everything that I showed you earlier. So, and there's no rhyme or reason. I'm just laying it all out like it would be on a piece of black velvet, like it is in my real one in my living room. So once we got it all together, then you can see when you slide it in, that's what the top of the tabletop is going to look like. Isn't that absolutely clever? I just thought it was such a cool idea. Now, I did see this in a miniature magazine that's about 20 years old, but they had used popsicle sticks and dowels. And the ones that I seen in the miniature magazine, yeah, they were pretty, but they weren't anywhere near as intricate as the ones that we pulled off today. The ones that I seen in the magazine, I think they were loaded full of tiny little books. So not quite the same thing, but very similar. And I mean, really, Tic Tacs are available worldwide, so they're pretty easy to find. So you can see we've got it kind of sort of glued together, and we used masking tape for the glue to set, and we let it set for a good hour before we did the next step. And then we finally got the last piece of wood in. And remember, you've got to make sure that you keep on putting that Tic Tac box in and out of it, because it is not perfectly square. So what I'm doing right now is I'm taking some coffee stir stick and I'm mitering the coffee stir sticks on the top. And the reason why I'm doing that is because then you won't be able to see any of the joints, so that where the round legs join the sides of the table, it's not very attractive. So you got to frame it the way a normal piece of furniture would be framed, and hide those joints. And I think it will also act to make the table a lot sturdier. So we're just going ahead and I'm cutting the pieces, and Lil is being the glue master, so she's putting all of the glue on it. So, and as she's finished gluing each piece, then I go on and cut the next piece, and then she glues it on and on until we're done. So you can see here, look how perfect that looks once it's all framed up. Much nicer. So I'm just doing the last piece on this particular table. And as soon as we're done, we'll move on to the second table. So Lil's table, as I mentioned earlier, is a little bit higher. I want to use mine as a little tiny coffee table. And she does 1/12 scale. So hers is going to be a little bit higher, and it can be used as a little accent table in one of her doll houses or room boxes. So I'm just doing the final cut on this one. And as you can see, I didn't cut all the way through. Yeah, typical. It's only when you're filming. When you're filming, you make all these mistakes. And I love how, sometimes you see videos of people making stuff and they make it all look like every cut they made and everything was all perfect. And yeah, they edit all that out and make it look that way. I throw in all of my mistakes. So Lil's just lining it up, making sure that it's correct, and it's just off just by a tad. So she's just using a little bit of sandpaper just to fix it. And there you go. Now it fits perfect. So now she's just taking out the glue, and she's just going to add a little bit of glue and glue it down. I believe the glue that she's using is Elmer's Hold All, which is very similar to tacky glue. I mean, it seems to be a little bit more liquidy than the tacky glue, but it is also a PVA glue. So now we've got them glued down and they've dried. We're back down to the watered down acrylic brown paint, and we're just going to go ahead and paint that out so that it matches the rest of the table. So yeah, I mean, I'm tickled pink with these. They're so cute. So she's just painting hers, and then I'll take a turn and go ahead and paint mine. And then the tables are pretty much finished. Oh, I didn't show that I added a popsicle stick on the inside to hold everything in. So there you go. We've inserted the little Tic Tac boxes. Mine is the shorter coffee table box. And you can see all the delightful little treasures that are inside. I just think that's so stinking cute. And then here's Lil's with all her little treasures. So, I mean, I just could not be more pleased. What a wonderful craft this was. And it really wasn't that difficult to do, but it looks like it's super intricate. So I know I'm definitely excited to put this inside of one of my doll houses. And as promised, this is my actual coffee table in my living room. And as you can see, it's just loaded with stuff. It's got everything from my favorite book when I was a little girl to my son's favorite toys with pictures of me and my husband and concert tickets and family photos and shells from trips and money and pieces of jewelry, like you name it, it's in there. Even my grandfather's army medals. Well, thank you very much for watching today. If you haven't already subscribed to my channel, it's free to do so, and it really does help me out. It also helps me when you press that like button and share my videos. And if you are subscribed, make sure you hit that notification bell, and then that way you're notified every time I upload a new video. Well, I hope you enjoyed watching this and my whole 10 or 12 seconds of fame at the beginning. So for those of you in the Edmonton area, I certainly hope that you come to the Muttart this summer and see our wonderful display that has been put on by the Miniature Enthusiasts of Edmonton. I'm certainly proud of the job they all did. It's just absolutely extraordinary. And once again, everyone, have the best day ever.